This is the second reading podcast for Chapter 4, and we left off talking about ways of measuring the amount of variation in a data set. Now, one very powerful tool we can use is called the variance. And in the variance, you take each individual value, you subtract the mean, that gives you a deviation, you square those deviations, you add them all up, and divide by n minus 1. Okay, so you're in essence taking the amount of difference from the mean of every single point, squaring those differences, adding them up, and dividing by n minus 1. Okay, that's the variance. Now, because we have squared all of those differences, a more useful measure for us is by taking the square root of that number. Okay, and if you take the square root, that gives you what's called the standard deviation. Okay, now this is a very, very powerful tool for us, but because we are taking the individual variances and adding them up, this is only useful to us when our data is symmetric and unimodal. Now here is a more detailed look on how you take that. Again, you take the values, you subtract the mean, that gives you the deviations. You square those deviations so they're all positive. Okay, you add them all up, divide, you find an average of those deviations by dividing by n minus 1, and then you take the square root to give you the standard deviation. This is a very powerful tool for us to measure symmetric and unimodal quantitative data. Okay, this last thing I'll talk about in this podcast is this last TI tip. Don't skip over this. This will change your life. Okay, if you type all of your data into list one or a different list and run a one var stats following these instructions, it'll give you the number of data points, the min, the max, the 5-number summary. It'll give you the standard deviation. All the data you need about this set of data will be calculated for you using this one var stat. So a very, very powerful tool for you. Make sure you do not skip over this idea.